All right, Stoke. When it comes to quarterbacks, we know they get all the dough, right? They get the guaranteed money, they get the big contracts, they get the big signing bonuses, and it can screw up your salary cap. Well, CBS Sports has an article that Tom Pelissero talked about on the Rich Eisen Show. Then they just broke it down, talking about a quarterback salary cap separate from what the team's actual salary cap is. And the reason that this is being brought up is because owners are having this conversation right now, maybe going to propose something to the players and the players union at some point. And what they're looking at is a percentage of the salary cap. And the example they use is Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is going to account for 25% of the Bengals salary cap in 2024. I can even do this math. I mean, 75% it goes to the rest of the roster. You have to build a roster. 52 other guys got to get paid and taken care of on 75% of the salary cap. So the model is basically quarterback salary cap is here, and it can only be X amount of percentage. We can use 25% if we want of the salary cap, and it can never go above and beyond that number. I like this idea. How do you feel about it?
I love it. I just think overall, and I've thought about this a little bit, you look at the salary cap, and it goes up every single year. Well, guess what? Guess what else goes up more so than anything else? Quarterback contracts. So who is reaping the benefits of the salary cap going up? No one more than the quarterbacks. Nope. Their salary is rising at a level not comparable to the rest of the guys, right? The rest of the positions.
Yeah.
And so they're the ones that are benefiting the most from this, which it makes sense because it's such an important position. So what are you going to do with that extra money? Well, you're paying it to the quarterback. That's what you're doing, right? You're trying to keep that guy happy and keep that guy on your roster, because if you don't, someone else will. And so that's why their salaries are going up at a level that doesn't compare to the rest of the positions. Now, receivers going up a lot, and you're seeing big contracts there. But ultimately, you're going to have a few haves and a lot of have-nots. Mm-hmm. Really, when you look at the structure of the contracts that these guys are going to be signing, it's going to be the top-tier guys with all the quarterbacks at top, and then a few other positions sprinkled in, and then the rest of the guys are going to be fighting for the leftovers there. So I like this, and by the way, it's only going to get worse.
Oh, exactly.
It's only getting worse and worse. In quarterback contracts, you look at how much they're going up and what that number will look like in 5 years, and then you compare it to some of these other positions. It just doesn't make sense to have it structured that way. You need to spread it out a little bit more here, and so I do. I don't know if this is the solution, where you just have the quarterbacks have their own salary cap and the rest have their own separate from quarterbacks. I'm not sure if that's the right way to go about it, but certainly I think something needs to happen here, because you're going to see a situation where it's a quarterbacks, it's a few top-notch players at other positions, and they're getting the bulk of the salary cap, and then all the rest of the guys are just getting, and we say this in terms of NFL money,
right.
The scraps, right? It's still a ton of money, but not what it should be with the way that the game is, the way that it's moving, the salary cap and all the money keeps going up by such a high percentage every year, and it's just going to certain guys, top tier guys.
You know what I kept thinking about, and you brought this team up earlier. Without this, and I'm pro quarterback salary cap as well. You got teams like Dallas, and I don't really care about Dallas if they win or they lose. I think it's actually more fun when they lose because their fans are crybabies, and it makes it more entertaining for me. But like Dallas has Dak, they have CD, and they have Micah Parsons. Those are all guys they drafted. They built this roster, at least the star power, the right way. And the way things are trending, and you said this earlier, Stoke, and you're absolutely right. They can't keep all those guys. How are you going to keep all of those guys and still build a competitive roster around that? So I don't know what the logistics would look like, and that's for somebody much smarter and a higher pay grade than me to figure out what the percentages would be and then what it would mean for trickle-down effects or scraps, as you called it, for the rest of the roster. But you almost hurt teams that draft right because you have to pay these quarterbacks so much damn money. You can't get Micah Parsons back. What are you going to do with CD Lamb? By the way, they got a couple of pretty solid offensive linemen that are going to be, time to pay the piper at some point sooner rather than later too. So not only do I like this, I think it's a must moving forward for the NFL.
Yeah, you look at where this thing is going, and, do you implement something else here that you look at, you name those three guys that are coming up for contracts, and it's going to be hard to pay them because they're all, Micah Parsons is the best at his position. CeeDee Lamb is, top 3, 4, 5 at his position. Dak, same thing, top 5, top 6, top 7 quarterback. And how can you pay those guys what they deserve, but still pay the rest of the guys? So do you implement something like the NBA has, where you drafted them, you developed them, so you can pay them more, and then maybe that certain amount of that doesn't count against the cap because you're the team that drafted them.
Yeah, I like that.
And they're on your team, and so you can pay them a little bit more. Now these guys want to stay on your team because they get paid more on your team. So I think something like that ought to be implemented here with the NFL and their cap situation and how you navigate this. I think it's not just about the quarterbacks. You got to you got to take a step back and say, okay, we might need to do this just a little bit differently because the money is going up at such a fast rate, and the cap's going up at such a big amount every single year that, okay, how can we structure this thing and do this thing a little bit differently where more people get paid here? And do you do something for the running back position? Obviously, because,
they have to get to a percentage of the salary cap.
Yeah, something like that. I think all that can come into play, and I think but you got to look at doing something a little bit different. I believe with the NFL salary cap because of what we're seeing in the quarterback market and these contracts that they're getting and how much of the cap they're taking up.
But man, I am intrigued by what Devon Vele and Troy Franklin can be in a couple of years under this offense with Sean Payton and working with the amount of reps that they should get with Bo Nix.
No, absolutely. Hopefully you got 3 of them there, young guys that we haven't seen a lot of, so that makes us optimistic they can be, a great group. We haven't seen a lot of them, obviously. With the 2 rookies, haven't seen them at all. Marvin Mims didn't play a lot. What does he look like this year? But you hope you find 2 out of the 3 to be a dynamic duo moving forward. And we'll see what it looks like for Troy Franklin, Devon Vele. We get caught up in it, and I get caught up in it, and, love the potential of Vele, Troy Franklin at Oregon with Bo Nix. They have that chemistry and that foundation playing college together. It's like, but we also got to remember, Troy Franklin, he wasn't a top 10 pick. He was a 4th rounder. Devon Vele, 7th rounder. Marvin Mims, 2nd rounder.
I don't want Courtland Sutton to be the X factor. That's not good for this football team moving forward if he's the X factor.
Why not?
You got to pay him again. You know what I mean? He's going to come knocking again at that time to pay the piper door about his contract and being in the number 1 wide receiver on a bad team where he's actually not a number 1 wide receiver. It would just put them in a more difficult situation with him and his contract next year. Then he's sitting on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, that's fine. Then you just move on from him.
Okay.
Yeah, you just move on. You just turn the page. I think if he does, and here's another way to look at it, a better way to look at it than your way, the negative way.
Okay.
This is a positive way. This would be good for the Broncos, not bad for the Broncos. Guys play well, and Josh wants to spin it to negative, and it's a bad thing, right?
Well, if he's 33,
I'm the positive.
Yeah.
Okay, so the flip side of things, Courtland plays well.